Welcome to another Top of the Table interview. Join us as we hear stories and advice from MDRT Top of the Table qualifiers. Welcome to Top of the Table. I'm Sandy Schussel. My passion is finding and sharing what gets someone to the top in this profession, top of the table, top advisor, top agency, and so on. I'm honored today to be talking with Top of the Table qualifier Nicholas Sanchez. Nick is president of Integrity Investment Planning Group in Novi, Michigan. He graduated cum laude from Central Michigan University in 2007 with a degree in personal financial planning, which we're going to talk about, but was already working in the industry. His current firm, which was started a little over 2 years ago, has 5 advisors, and he's on track once again for Top of the Table. At the time of this interview, Nick has 3 young children, including Nick, a 1-month-old. I'm excited to be speaking with you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat with you for sure.
All right. First of all, congratulations on at the time of this interview, it'll be what, a month?
Yeah. My son Dean was born July 20th, so he's about 7 weeks at this point. So if I doze off at any point during the interview, don't hold it against me.
I was going to say you do a lot of things, and we're going to get into that because I know you're interested. You play basketball, you golf, and you want to have family time. And one of the things we'll talk about is how you can do all of that from the place that you're at right now. And that's really cool. But you have an interesting background because you knew even before you went to college that you wanted to do something in the financial realm. Talk to us about when that light went off for you that said, oh, this is what I want to do.
Well, I had when I did we did a simulation in high school. I remember, I think it was a social studies class. It was like a pretend stock market simulation where you had to pick some stocks and invest in them, and then whoever had the most money at the end of this 2 or 3 day thing won the thing. And so I was interested. I found out then that I didn't know what the stock market was. Probably prior to this, was probably my sophomore year of high school. And just in reading about stocks and looking into what is a stock and how does investing work, that kind of piqued my interest. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. You can invest in something, grow your money. So I think that was my very first introduction to investing or the stock market. And so then when I was 16, I opened an E-Trade investment account, put like $1,000 in there. And this was 2001. So right when the whole tech bubble thing was happening. So if I'm 16 years old, put $1,000 in. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to turn this $1,000 into $10,000. Well, the $1,000 quickly turned into like 200. So I didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't a great time to be investing, obviously, with the tech bubble, but it was like a lesson learned. I was on E-Trade. I was learning how to place a trade, how to look up stocks, and so I knew it. I just was at least interested in the concept of investing and the stock market. And so then when I went to Central, I was like, I talked to a guidance counselor. He was like, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I kind of like investing. I like working with people. And he said, we have this brand new program. I think it's perfect for you. It's a personal financial planning program. Because they have a general finance, like a corporate finance degree, which is common. And then they had this brand new personal finance degree. And he said, you get to invest, you get to work with people. And I was like, all right, let's do that. And so, that's the freshman year. I decided to make that my major, and here we are.
And one of the things that when I was trying to find out a little more about you, it seems like you started in the field even before you graduated.
I did. The summer after my junior year of college, I did an internship with a company here in Michigan called GLP, and it was very much internship type duties, filing, ordering like prospectuses for mutual funds, not client facing type stuff, but it was an internship. It was a foot in the door, and just my first exposure to the financial services industry. So I did a summer long internship, and then it also got me some credits because it was like an actual internship through the college. So that helped me get 3 credits during the summer. And then when I graduated, I went to work for for that company uh, as my first career, my first position in the financial services profession.
Yeah, and you jumped right in after graduation and got your Series 7 and 63, 65. And then you jumped the year later to get a 24. So what was going on?
So in that role at GLP, again, I was 21 at the time, so kind of I was in a kind of a compliance role within GLP. So um, I was essentially as 21-year-old just they said, hey, we want you to go get your 24 because we want you to be the person who's signing and approving these new accounts that are being opened up. I was probably underqualified for that position but I guess they needed somebody in that role. And so they said, if you go get your 24, and they knew, I was young, I was already in study mode because I did the 7, I was just fresh out of school. So they knew it would be a piece of cake for me to go and take some time to study for this 24 and get it. And then once I was a securities principal, registered principal, then I had the credentials to be able to sign off on business and take that that workload off of the plate of one of the other executives. So I think I was just like, hey, if I'm an employee here, you want me to do it? Sure, I'll do it. Now looking back, now that I'm president of a company, and so having that principal's license, it didn't really help me the last 15 years, but now I'm glad I have it because I didn't have to like study for it and go get it when I started Integrity. I already had it from a decade ago.
Yeah, that makes great sense. So at some point, you switched to sales and said, well, I'm doing this compliance stuff and admin stuff. I want to get into sales. What triggered that?
Well, that was kind of when I started with GLP, my goal or my expectation and understanding was that it was going to be client facing sales, ability to grow my business and acquire assets and acquire clients. And just due to what they had going on at the time, they kind of were like, no, Nick, we need you in the office. We have duties here that we need you to do. So I was kind of like, okay, I'll do that. But I also internally, I was like, I'm not really doing any of the financial planning stuff that I learned in school that I really want to be doing. Yes, and I again, I look back, I learned a ton in that role, a ton about paperwork and what's an IRA, how to open up an account, like because in school you learn all the nuts and bolts of investing and finance and what's a 401k, what's an IRA. You learn all that stuff, but then you don't know anything about broker dealer paperwork or requirements to open an account. So in that role, I learned a lot about, okay, I have some finance knowledge internally, but now I actually have some industry knowledge in terms of what it takes to open an account and things like that. So it was good. It was time well spent. I definitely learned a lot there, but I knew long term I wanted to be interacting with people and making a difference and being out and about meeting people, not signing applications and compliance type stuff.
Most people find the hard part is getting in front of people. And obviously, you were starting brand new. You had basically been inside. Now you wanted to go do the work that you had studied and were trained to do. How did you make the transition? How did that start?
Yeah, and this was so I graduated from Central Michigan in 2007. So then I
Right.
was in compliance role for about a year. So in 2008 is when I left GLP and started at a company called Advanced Strategies Group, where I was going to be in this client acquisition type role, an advisor role, which is what I wanted. But that was 2008 when the market just plummeted, went off a cliff basically, 2008. So
Yeah.
now imagine you're a 22-year-old kid going out to people that have assets and you're trying to convince them to trust me to manage their portfolio when they just had this the
Yeah,
world
they
was,
lost money. Hey,
they
let
lost
me help you
money.
lose some more money.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm going to trust you at 20, 22, you're younger than my kids. I'm not going to. So it was a different, but I was glad at that time, I didn't have a lot of assets that I managed. So I didn't have a bunch of clients that participated in this downfall. So that was nice. But it was also very difficult to convince or get anybody to trust me enough to work with me because A, the market was doing so poorly, and B, I was 22 years old and people were kind of like, I don't want to trust a brand new advisor. So that made sense. So yeah, early on it was definitely a lot of cold calling and just I would working with whoever would agree to meet with me. I was not very selective or specific about who I would work with. I was like, if anyone would meet with me, great, let's open a Roth IRA, let's open an account. I was just trying to gather clients and acquire, build a client base at that time.
Where did you get the list for cold calling? I mean, because I know guys that started with the phone book. Where did you get yours?
So I actually would drive in the area in like different industrial parks, just different businesses, and I would have a recorder and I would say the name of the business, ABC Manufacturing, and I would say the address, and then I'd keep driving. I'd say the next one, XYZ Tool and Die, whatever. I was just naming these different businesses into my recording device. Then I would drive a few miles and get, 30 or 40 businesses in this recorder. Then I would go back to the office and look up those companies online, and then I would look up the About Us link in the website, and then you'd find the president or the CEO or any of the executives. And if they had an email address or a phone number, I would just try to call them and email them and say, hey, I'm an advisor in the area. I specialize in working with business owners. Would love to chat with you about what I do. And probably 99% of the time it would be ignored or a no. But every now and then you get lucky and someone would say, okay, I'll chat with you. But yeah, I mean, looking back, it's so funny to think that that was how I would go, because my natural market, people that I knew as a 22-year-old, were all recently out of college like me. So they were broke people that didn't have money to invest. So, I could only get so much out of those individuals. So I had to go and find people that had assets, and that was the way that I was trained to do it.
Yeah, good. So talk to me a little bit about the training. You say that's the way I was trained to do it. Tell me about that.
Well, it was training. It was a lot of estate planning type techniques and getting people. The whole concept was trying to disturb somebody who was financially in a good spot, financially was a success, but a lot of times, maybe as well off as someone was, they had areas of weakness in their estate planning. Either they didn't have a will and trust, or if it was 20 years old and needed to be updated. A lot of times, as a business owner, you're busy doing whatever it is that your business is, and so some of that stuff just gets ignored or put on the back burner. And so it was like, hey, you have a lot of assets, you have a lot going on financially, but do you have a will and a trust? Most of the time it was yes, but sometimes they'd be like, I don't. I've been meaning to do that. And if I could be a catalyst and say, okay, great, I'll introduce you to this attorney. Let's get, so it's mostly just trying to find holes or find areas of weakness that maybe this successful business owner hasn't gotten around to doing yet. And if I could be the catalyst to help get that done, then maybe they would let me manage their assets.
Did you think of that on your own, or was there somebody saying to you, hey, Nick, this is what you do?
I had a sales manager there at Advanced Strategies Group that kind of trained us to do. It was myself and one other young advisor that were kind of new, and yeah, that's what he taught us to do.
You were aiming at business owners, and I'm wondering if you kept that as a market or you changed your approach. What was the next step for you?
So yeah, I definitely did. I definitely changed my the clients that I work with today. Yes, I work with business owners, but most of the clients I work with are just regular couples that are financially doing well or making a good income. Um, could be automotive executives, just couples that are financially in a good spot that may or may not be a business owner, but that I could come alongside them and help them go from good to great, essentially.
And how did you start finding them?
So this is when I was at Advanced Strategies Group. Then the company had some difficulties and kind of just folded. They just kind of went under. People went different ways, and that's when I ended up at a company called Financial Architects. And so to rewind, when I was at GLP, which is the company I did my internship with, every day on the way into work for the internship, I would drive by Financial Architects. I would drive by the office, and I always noticed the sign, the name. I was like, that's a unique name. I wonder what they do. And this is when I was in that compliance role, but I really wasn't happy in that role. I was wanting to be an advisor, and so I would drive by Financial Architects. I was like, that's a unique name. So I went looked them up online, found Ken Grace, president of Financial Architects. I sent in unsolicited, I sent in a resume to Ken, emailed him, hey, I'm a recent college graduate, finance degree, Series 7 license, all that stuff, looking to make a move in my career. would love to talk with you. And so Ken responded and said, yeah, come on in, let's talk. And so I met with Ken. And again, this was 2007. I was still at GLP. And Ken and I had a great conversation, and I liked him a lot. I think he liked me, but he's like, Nick, we don't have a training program. I don't really have any. I'm not in that. It's not something we do regularly. Hire brand new people and train them. He's like, if I hired you, I feel like I'd be doing you a disservice. So he said, go out there, keep doing what you're doing, and let's stay in touch. And so that's what we did. That's when I went to Advanced Strategies Group, and I was there for about 2 years before that that company went under and disbanded. And then right around the time that happened, Ken happened to reach out to me via email and said, Nick, are you still in the business? I said, yeah, I am. And he said, I'd like to invite you into the office to talk again. I said, sure. And so I went in and met with Ken, and we clicked. I liked Ken a lot. And he basically walked me through, kind of role played as if I was a client, and walked me through the process that they used at Financial Architects. And it was just a complete 180 from everything I learned at school and everything that I'd been doing with the small amount of clients I had at that point. Just a different way of looking at how money works and how to structure a financial plan. And so I was like, man, this is cool. I need to be doing this for myself, my own personal finance, but then also I need to go back to this handful of clients that I have, and I need to introduce them to this approach because it's just such a different, unique way of looking at things. And so after that meeting with Ken, I left Advanced Strategies Group. Again, it was kind of already fizzling out anyways, but I started at Financial Architects a couple weeks after that meeting with Ken. And this was in early 2011. So I was at Financial Architects for about 11 years at that point. And that's where my career really kind of took off, and the trajectory took off when I started at Financial Architects and I started working closely with Ken Grace.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about the difference that you in planning that you saw in their approach as opposed to what you would learn? Because you spent a lot of years learning this stuff. It seems like, all of a sudden you've seen a light that you hadn't
Yeah,
seen before.
it was at Financial Architects, and what I do now with Integrity Investment Planning Group is we take a macroeconomic look at someone's financial world. So we're looking at the whole picture: mortgage, retirement plan, estate planning, investment portfolio, student loans, home and auto insurance. Even though we don't do home and auto insurance, we spend time looking at how a client has their home and auto insurance because it's all related, it all matters. And so at Financial Architects, it was that total view of someone's financial world. Whereas prior to that, I was just kind of like trying to look at someone's account statement and say, oh, you're not diversified properly, or here's what I would propose differently. But it wasn't really financial planning. It was just managing investments and asset allocation, but really not looking at anyone's the other stuff going on in their financial world, their cash flow, helping them understand how much they should be saving. So it was just it was like a roadmap or a template when I'm meeting with someone, an actual financial model that we used, which I still use today, called the PS&G model. PS&G stands for protection, savings, and growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically putting all the different areas of someone's financial world on one clear, concise model. And then once you have their info on a model on one page, it makes it that much easier to make decisions and make recommendations because you're not making them based on opinion or based on a whim. It's based on their data that's on this model, and making calculations and things like that. So it was just a much more structured approach to planning someone's financial world.
Yeah, sounds like that would excite you given your history. And obviously it did. But up until that point, you had a handful of clients, and most of them were business owners. Where and how did that change? What did you do to change that?
Well, I think once I had this new approach, this PS&G model, protection, savings, and growth model, and this macroeconomic approach to financial planning, I realized there's a lot of people I could be talking to. You don't have to be a business owner. You could be a W-2 employee that's making $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year. It's really, and that was one of the things that Ken taught me is he would say, doesn't matter what somebody makes, it matters what their savings habits are. So I'm better equipped to help someone who's making 50,000 a year, but is a good saver, understands the importance of putting money away, saving money, investing money. I would be better equipped to help that person than someone who's making 500,000 a year, but is spending every dollar that they're making, because that person's got kind of a spending, but yes, they have a good income, but there's no resources available to allocate, to do anything with. So it was just this understanding of, oh, I don't have to just go after wealthy business owner. Anybody out there could benefit from this approach that we use. So it kind of opened up my eyes to, it's like, wow, a lot of people could benefit from this. And so I started talking to anybody, anyone that was, and ideally somebody who's financially in a good spot, because Ken would always say, we're not good at, like rescuing somebody who's drowning in debt, or they have a lot of issues that they have to kind of clean up before we can come alongside them and then help take them to the next step. But for somebody who's financially in a good spot, has a good income, understands the importance of saving, we can come alongside them and just help them direct those savings dollars to maybe more productive purposes.
Yeah, that sounds great. But you got to find those people. So talk to me about how you built the top of the table business that you have now by reaching out. How did you reach out? What did you do? What did you say?
So I think, at Financial Architects, I started out building my own client base, talking to the people that I knew, networking groups, just out and about, just trying to talk to people. But then I also was very, very fortunate and of coming to the right place at the right time, because Ken at this time was in his 60s. He was eyeing retirement. He knew his retirement was on the horizon. And Ken was a very successful advisor for a number of years. He started Financial Architects in 1985. So he had this firm that he built, grew it, had a lot of advisors, a lot of clients. And he was in his 60s. So he was kind of recognizing that retirement was near. And so he and I, again, because we were close, we had a good relationship, he kind of brought me in and said, I think Nick is going to be the next. I want him to essentially take on the servicing of my clients when Ken is no longer here. And so he started, as I was growing my own client base, at the same time I was going into a lot of Ken's meetings and meeting his clients as a junior advisor, kind of like, being, playing second fiddle to Ken. Ken was leading the meeting, running the meeting. I was there observing, taking notes, contributing a little bit. And then over the years, that relationship kind of flip-flopped, where now I'm probably the primary advisor in those relationships, in those meetings. And Ken was there, but maybe not taking the lead on the planning. So it's kind of a gradual progression, but Ken was very smart and intentional, because he brought me into the client relationship way, way before his retirement happened. He introduced me to the clients, and it was a gradual thing. That way, when Ken retired, it wasn't like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I'm retiring, but here, meet Nick. He's going to be your new advisor.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that kind of an abrupt handoff. You're not, that's not the right way to do it. So he was introducing me to these clients 5, 6, 7 years before he retired. So when he actually did retire and said, all right, I'm retiring, Nick's your guy now, the clients were like, yeah, okay. There was nothing unusual. They were already used to me. And so I benefited tremendously from getting access to those clients that Ken already had, and just kind of stepping in and filling a service role. That it was a win-win-win, because I, as a young advisor, was like, hey, I'll take on any client relationship I can get. I'm trying to build my client base and trying to get some revenue. So I was willing to take on anything and do the work that it took to open accounts and manage assets. Ken was already financially comfortable and had a client base. He was looking kind of do the opposite. He was trying to look to offload some of the service, and it was okay with sharing the revenue. He wanted someone to take the work off of his plate so he could go up north and spend time, doing stuff he wanted to do. And then for a client, it was definitely a win, because now they have two advisors who are present for their financial model, who are participating and brainstorming behind the scenes. And they have 2 points of contact that are familiar with their financial world, that if Ken's up north in the summer and they want to meet, Nick's here available to meet. And so it really was, it was a win-win-win. It was the best scenario I could envision for an established advisor to bring a young advisor in, and it benefited all parties, the established advisor, the young advisor, and of course the clients as well.
Yeah, let's get into the nitty gritty. Before I do that, I understand now that in your firm, you're adopting that model. You have a young associate. Talk about that for a second, and then I want to jump into how you were building your side of the business.
Yep. So I'm 30. I just turned 39 a couple weeks ago. So I'm definitely not nearing retirement like Ken was at that point. So I'm not grooming my replacement to take over in the next handful of years. But way down the road at some point, that's my goal for Dylan Webkenberg, who's one of my teammates here at Integrity Investment Planning Group. We hired him in June of 2023. So he's been with us for just over a year. He graduated from Michigan State. Similar program that I went to through at Central Michigan. He went through a wealth management program at Michigan State that was the same premise. It was kind of like the educational requirements to sit for the CFP exam. So it's kind of a curriculum designed after the CFP program. And so he graduated in June, started with us, quickly passed all of his exams, got up to Series 7, Series 66, got all of his licenses in place. He's studying for his CFP currently. I think he's taking it in November of this year. But he is going to be like the next generation of Integrity Investment Planning Group. I'm training him. He's in all of my meetings, just like I was in all of Ken's. He's in the meetings, taking notes, observing, kind of like it's almost like training without like a formal training program. It's just training by being in the meetings and being present to see how a meeting is run, what type of stuff is discussed, what type of questions are asked. So he's getting training on the job. And then when he's not in the meetings with me and doing some of the follow-up items that come out of meetings, he's off on his own, building his own client base, calling his college classmates and his friends and acquaintances, building his own standalone client base in addition to the stuff that I have him working on.
That puts you in the place where the model is the same. Now let's go back to the idea that, well, here you are, you're building your side of the business, you're networking, you're doing things. What worked best for you?
I mean, it worked best for me because I never consider myself a salesy type of a person. I understand the role of an advisor to gain and acquire clients. It is a sales role. I'm not naive to that, but I'm not a salesy type person. So the best way for me to acquire clients and keep clients was to be brought into the relationships that Ken already had and just, hey, Nick, I want you to meet these clients. And then by working with those clients, I didn't have to acquire them. I didn't have to really do a good job of acquiring, but I had to sell myself basically to get them to see, oh, this guy's sharp. He's competent. He knows what he's talking about. So I definitely think of like the service side of things is where I stand out and strong point for me as opposed to the sales side of things. And then it's weird because the better you are at the service side of things and the better you are at following through on the things that you talk about, it's almost like an indirect way of acquiring clients because it's not sales, but that's how you get referrals and you get introductions by doing a good job for your current clients. So like right now, all the clients that come to me, I don't really do a lot of like active marketing or prospecting. I just focus on doing a great job for my clients, trying to make sure they have a good experience. And then the end result is they end up introducing me to friends and family and coworkers, so, which is for me a great sign that we are doing a good job for them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be introducing us to their friends.
Yeah, one of the things that I tell advisors is that when you're asking the question, how do I get more clients? You're actually asking the wrong question. The question should be, how do I serve my clients more deeply and better so that they want to send their friends and family to me? And it sounds like you do that. Give me a sense of um, the things that you do that are particularly powerful for service and client appreciation.
I think the just kind of proactive communication, reaching out to them, inviting them in to have review meetings regularly. Um, in those review meetings, just doing a good job of connecting with them and understanding their family dynamics. And, I tell Dylan, like when you first start working with somebody as a young advisor and it's kind of a new relationship, a lot of the time and energy in the meeting is talking about the portfolio and performance and their financial world. Then as the relationship goes on, you start to know them better and you develop a friendship. Then a lot of the 90% of the meeting is catching up on what's new, how's your family, personal stuff. And then 10% is like, oh yeah, well, let's get to the portfolio now. Because it's like a friendship. It's someone you're looking forward to catching up with. And then before you know it, 45 minutes has gone by. You haven't even talked about the finance. You're like, oh, we better get to this. So I just think it's just connecting with people, like just, being someone that people want to work with, want to, because people are intuitive, you cannot fake integrity and authenticity. You just can't. So when you engage with someone, I'm going to engage with someone, I like to think that they get a sense across the table that they're dealing with someone who is a straight shooter, who wants to help them. This is their money, their finances, not mine. And I'm just trying to I'm just internally saying, what can I do to help this person and help grow their money and help them financially be successful. This is what I'm saying internally, and I think it just comes across. I think people recognize like, okay, I feel comfortable. I trust this person.
You used the word integrity here, and that's in the name of the business. How did you come up with the name?
So when I left Financial Architects in 2022, so again, so Ken back up. Ken Grace retired in 2019. Again, he and I were very close, super close. When he retired, the gentleman that stepped in and replaced him as the leadership of Financial Architects, I could just sense that we were kind of on a different page. We weren't quite seeing things the same way. Just like in any, think of sports, when there's a head coach change, the dynamic in the locker room changes. The head coach is the identity of that's the culture of the team. And that was true with Ken. Ken was an awesome leader, a guy that you just want to run through a wall for because he's got your best interest at heart. And so when he left, I could just sense that things were a little different. And so I left in 2022, July of 2022. A couple of the advisors at Financial Architects um, came with me. When I started Integrity, they said, well, we're not quite on the same page as the current leadership as well. We want to come with you and be a part of Integrity. I said, great, the more the merrier. And so when I decided to leave Financial Architects and start Integrity, it was a pretty easy thing to think about the name. I was like, if I was going to trust somebody to manage something as important as my family's financial world, what's the one quality or characteristic I would want that person to embody? And I was like, integrity. I mean, it's easy. You want to work with someone who's going to do what they say they're going to do, who's going to have your best interest at heart, and just operate with integrity and do the right things for the right reasons. And so I was like, that's the perfect name for a company.
Yeah, it is a perfect name for what you stand for. And a lot of times people don't get that that's important. When you are building relationships with clients, do you do anything like socializing, client events, gifts, things like that that help you get introductions to other people?
Yeah, we do client events from time to time. Like in the past, we've had a party here at our office with like drink food catered in and some drinks. That was like our 1 year anniversary party. So we had a 1 year anniversary party in 2023. Invited clients in, had kind of some cocktails and some food. Um, and then I've done a thing in the past, a client event where we went to AR workshop. You familiar with that? It's like a
Yes.
woodworking place. So you
Yes.
invite clients in and they can do their own woodworking project and then take home this thing, whatever they made, a sign or and then we had wine and some food at the workshop as well. So we've done client events from time to time. I have Piston tickets that I will give to top clients, let them go to a game. I'll invite a client to go with me, or I'll just give them a pair of tickets and they can go. Um, Baseball tickets, same thing, Tigers tickets, and then gifts. We'll send. I have there's a website I subscribe to, or I have called the Birthday Co. I think it's called, where it's automates sending of birthday cards to clients. So birthday cards, and then Christmas, I usually will give gifts, something to top clients just to say, happy holidays, thanks for being a client, stuff like that.
Did the referrals come, or do you have a way of suggesting them or actually asking for them?
Honestly, I don't even do those things for referrals. I'm really not, that's not my goal. I'm just doing it to appreciate, say thank you for being my client. If referrals come, awesome, but I'm not doing it in the mindset of, okay, I'm going to do this and hopefully referrals will come from it. I'm just doing it to say thanks for being my client. And then inevitably referrals do come from it. They appreciate it, clients like it. So yeah, I definitely get referrals. It's just hard to pinpoint, did the referral come because of these tickets or did they come because of relationship? It's probably a combination of all of the above.
You reached top of the table level 5 or 6 years ago. Do you have to do anything to get back there, or is it just at this point the production is high enough that it's just going to happen every year?
Well, I think you can never get too comfortable to assume that, right? So when you have assets that you manage and there's an advisory fee, um, you have to do a good job or else, so yes, you have assets, there's income revenue coming into the firm, but that revenue would stop if we started falling short, if we weren't doing a good job, if portfolios weren't growing, if we weren't being in front of our clients proactively. So you can't get, it's always a model of, service and not getting comfortable and just assuming that, like top of the table and the production, that's not like my goal. My goal is to do a great job for my clients, and then top of the table is like a byproduct of following through on that goal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about doing a great job for the clients, and they appreciate it, and they give you more business and introduce you to other people that they care about. And it sounds like that's exactly how you get where you are now, and that probably will not change. If you had to do all of this over again, what would you do differently?
A good question. It's hard to say because those early years of the cold calling and the driving and saying the business name in the recorder and hearing no over and over and over, I wouldn't take that back because that was so important to develop thick skin, learn how to deal with objections, also learn what I don't want so I only almost appreciate where I'm at now because I did pay my dues in those tough years where we're cold calling and growing your business. So I wouldn't even say I would do anything because I appreciate that I had to go through those years. Anyone should have a little bit of struggle before you enjoy the fruits of your labor. That struggle is important. Um, I don't know that I would do anything differently. I think if I look back on my career, I got in the industry in 2007. So that's what, 17 years ago. And
Hmm.
I look back and I look at like the progression, that compliance role early on was super important. Helped me learn, have a really good understanding of behind the scenes. Because I've been around advisors who don't even know what paperwork is needed to open an account, or like how to properly fill out paperwork. They kind of they delegate, which is a good thing, but then they're almost delegating to the point where they're not self-sufficient. If their support person was out for the day or something, they would be like, I don't even know how to do my job. So
I know lots of advisors.
so I look back and I know the back office side of the business because of those compliance years. So I appreciate that. That equipped me, and all these things too. All of these things, the back of the compliance role, being forced to get the Series 24 at 21 or 22, which is kind of unique. That's not the norm usually for a 21-year-old. The cold calling, all that stuff also builds internal confidence, knowing that I've had that amount that work that I did, or that knowledge that I gained that was different from the coursework at CMU. Yes, I have the financial knowledge, but then the compliance side of things, the cold calling, knowing that I paid the dues, all that stuff adds up to confidence, internal confidence. And then when I'm talking to a new prospect, I think that confidence it just kind of comes across. You can't I don't try to, I never want to be someone who would be described as cocky or arrogant or anything like that, but I just truly believe I'm good at what I do. I truly believe Integrity Investment Planning Group. If I was a regular person and had money, I truly believe this is a place where I want to have my money managed because I think we do a great job. So that confidence comes from all the things I talked about, the accumulation of those years and those different roles that I played.
Yeah, it comes from your background. Would you be willing to share how a conversation with a prospect goes? You meet somebody, you start a conversation. What's that conversation like? What gets it from there to an appointment?
Well, that's why I think for me personally, the best prospect I can work with is one that comes from a referral from an existing client, because that
Yes.
trust bridge is kind of there already. So I'm not really having to convince this person because in this instance, if it's a referral or something, usually it's that person reaching out to me because Mr. and Mrs. Jones recommended me. So if it's the prospect that's coming to me from a referral, I feel like I'm already in a position of this person is seeking me out. They want my expertise. They want my help. And so I never approach a meeting with a prospect as a sales type of a meeting. It's more of a consultation. I'm just trying to understand, what is it that I can help you with? When Mr. and Mrs. Jones recommended that you talk to me, what was it specifically that you were talking about that led them to say, hey, you have to call Nick? And if I can understand what it is that they're hoping I can help them with, then I just say, okay, well, great. Yeah, we're equipped to do that. And here's how we would do that. If we work together, here's what we would do. Um, and I wouldn't say I have it disconnected to the outcome. I want of course I want to gather new clients and get new assets and grow, but I'm like I have a skill set. We have an expertise at integrity. We have something to offer. And if someone recognizes that and wants to work with us, awesome. We're here to help and we'll have a great relationship. But not everyone, we're not for everyone. Some people, if it's just about price or, what's the cost? I tell people if it's just about cost, you could probably go on Vanguard.com or Fidelity.com. You could do your own portfolio. You could, yeah, you wouldn't have an advisory fee there. With us, you're going to have an advisory fee, but you're also going to have a trusted relationship, someone that has expertise. Collectively at Integrity, we have 110, 115 years of collective experience in the industry. So we know what we're doing. We have a lot of experience and wisdom. And so, yeah, I guess this is a long-winded way of just saying, I think that we have a lot to offer. And I know anyone that engages with us we'll do a good job for them.
And that confidence is what gets you the business. If someone has just made it to MDRT and they're looking to understand how to grow, what advice would you give them about how to grow?
Personally, I always would, any like new person that I talk to, I always emphasize kind of following the track that I took. If you're a new person in the business, I would strongly recommend finding an established advisor to kind of partner with that you can learn from. That again, because most established advisors, they would like to have someone alongside them that they can help take some of the service off of their plate. And as a young person, you're looking to increase your revenue and increase your clients. And as an established advisor, you're looking to probably reduce some of the workload, and it's a perfect pairing. So I would tell any new person in the business, if you can partner with and not just an established advisor, but an established advisor that has your best interest at heart, that wants you to do well, that is not viewing their client base like, this is all mine. It's more of a, let's be a team and willing to share. And you got to find the right relationship, the right advisor that's established that is willing to take you on and wants to see you do well, wants to help you succeed.
Yeah, that's great
You
advice.
can do it on your own. You don't need to go that route. Again, prior to me partnering with Ken in 2011, I saw the difficulty of just trying to grow your own client base. It's hard. You can do it. But again, when I partnered with Ken, again, the trajectory of my career took off because of that client base that was already there. And I was just coming in and helping add the service and do a good job for them.
That's a perfect way for us to complete our conversation here. Nick, I want to thank you so much because your experience is different than so many other advisors, but not really. It all comes back down to if I truly serve my clients, they're going to give me more business and they're going to send me more. They send me their friends and family because I can be trusted. And you got that message across really clearly. So thank you for spending the time with me. And I hope that you take lots of time that you've earned to be with your 3 kids. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time. And this was a really cool experience. So thank you.
If you want to talk with me about your journey to the top of the table, contact me at sandyschussel.com/conversation. I'll see you at the top.